Assalamu alaikum students, how are you? Well, we have started our new science book and we are doing our chapter number 1. And in this chapter we've been learning about our body parts, teeth, brain, stomach, things like these, muscles. And then we were also talking about, or we will be talking about plants, and then we will be talking about fruits and about animals and food webs. So you will be doing reading of it, and then we will do some activities after we finish this reading. So let's start with teeth. Now look at this. So you're going to read this chapter about our teeth, and you will look at these pictures. So we have incisors and canines and premolar and molar in our mouth, and it says position in mouth, their description and function. So there are 32 teeth which are divided into 4 types: incisors, canine, premolar and molar. And then you will read the position in mouth, their description and their function. Then you will read about the brain. Okay, and remember, your teacher will call you and she will check your reading and she will check your knowledge about the teeth. So you will have to explain to her what you read about teeth. Then your teacher will be asking you about brain. So you need to read this passage here. Our brain weighs 1.3 kg from here down to and reactions. Then look at this picture very carefully, where the movement is located in our brain. In other words, which part of our brain make us do our movements, where touches, when we touch something, which part of our brain gets activated, where it works: sight, balance and coordination, speech, smell. So you need to draw this picture in your copy. Okay, draw this picture and label it accordingly, just the same way you label this diagram of your brain in a copy. Then we are on to page number 5, and lungs. So you look at this picture first. Look at these lungs, 2 big balloons, trachea, bronchus and bronchiolis. The small tiny ones are called bronchiolis. Now, so you will read about lungs, what lungs do, and understand what they do. So your teacher will ask you what you have understood about lungs, and then about heart, the different parts of your heart and how heart works. So you will read about heart, 2 small passages about heart. So there are arteriums and there are ventricles, and aorta is our main big blood supply lane. So you will read about that. On the left side you get the unoxygenated deoxygenated blood, which means वो blood जिसमें oxygen नहीं होती, and in the right side you have वो blood जिसमें oxygen होती है. Then you will read about stomach, and see here, stomach has 3 main, or stomach is connected to 2 main things. Stomach is in the middle, and esophagus. Remember this word, it's not oesophagus, but it's esophagus. O is silent, esophagus, and then stomach, and then small intestine. So stomach is between esophagus and small intestine. So you will read this. Under the ribs in the upper left part is the stomach, and then your teacher will be asking you about the stomach. Then you will read about bones and different types of bones: shoulder bone, shoulder blade, rib cage, backbone, something very important, ribs, hip bone, upper limb, lower limb. So these are your bones. So you will read about bones. Next, And remember, you need to read this passage. Bones give us a structure. Without bones, we would look like a pile of muscles and organs. Then you will be reading about muscles. Did you know you have more than 600 muscles in your body? Right. So muscles. So our bones are covered by our muscles. So we have muscles, and then we have shoulder, arm, hand, hip. We have different types of muscles. Remember that. So you will read what muscles do, and then you need to explain this to your teacher. And remember that you need to draw these pictures in your copy. You need to learn how to draw anatomy, human body, right? So you need to draw the skeleton, the bones, and then you need to draw the muscles, and before that you need to draw the brain and lungs and heart and stomach. You need to draw all these pictures in your copy. Now let's move to page number 9, common diseases and their causes. So if we have weak bone, then what causes that? Unbalanced diet. When our diet is not right, then we get weak bones. And how this problem can be solved? If you drink less soft drinks and more milk. So the next disease is skin rashes, then upset stomach, sore throat, pain in neck, pain in neck, shoulders and or head, weakness, laziness, and tooth decay. So last one, tooth decay, what that means? Not cleaning teeth regularly, that causes tooth decay. And how to solve that? Brush your teeth after every meal. हर रात के खाने के बाद और सुबह नाश्ते के बाद आप अगर ब्रश करेंगे तो ये प्रॉब्लम आपका सॉल्व हो जाएगा. Now we are up to parts of plant. So chapter number 10 is parts of plant. So you will read this, and first you will look at this picture: shoot, tip, later bud, node, internode, shoot, roots, primary, lateral roots, root hair, root tip, root cap. So you're going to look at this diagram and you will draw this diagram in your copy, and you will read this passage. Plants are living organisms such as trees, herbs, bushes, grasses, vines, ferns. So you will read this passage and draw this diagram, and you will show this to your teacher and your parents as well. Now to page number 11. So in page number 11 we will be discussing about roots, and then stem, and then leaves. Then on page number 12 about buds and thorns, kante. Then you will read about thorns. Thorns are woody, pointed and straight structure. And then of course flowers. You will read about flowers. And on page number 13 you will learn about 1, 2, 3 and 4 parts of a flower: sepals, petals, stamen and carpel. These are the 4 parts of a flower. So this is very important. This information is very important. So you will draw a flower and you will read about the different parts of flower. Then you will look around for flowers, and then we will be reading about fruits. What fruits are, how they grow, why they are important. And finally on page number 14 you will be reading about information processing in animals. How animals process their information, how they collect information, how they process it. That would lead us to page number 15, which is simple food chains. Now this is very important. What is a food chain? So in food chain, you look at this diagram, there are producers, and then there are primary consumers, and then there are secondary consumers, and then there are tertiary consumers, and then final consumers. and then those final consumers, they decompose, and we have decomposers. So you're going to read about food chain, and you will look around at different animals and try to understand where they fit as animals in a food chain. वो food chain का कैसे हिस्सा हैं. Then on page number 16 we have the food web. Who eats who? So look up. A shark eats a smaller fish like tuna, and tuna eats even smaller fish, and those small fish, they eat those small tiny insects. And then we have the food web at the end, where grass is eaten by rabbit, and rabbit is eaten by fox, and grass is eaten by small mouse, and mouse is eaten by owl. So you will draw this diagram. Food chain is very important. So you will draw these diagrams in your copy and try to understand what is given here, and then your teacher will call you and you will discuss this with her and explain this to her. So this brings us to the end of this chapter, and Allah Hafiz.